Eden Care UK is a friendly intervention service providing support to people who are terminally ill reaching end of life. We advocate for a high quality of care and enhanced life choices, and challenge the isolation of elderly people through friendship and social activities. This service would not be possible without your support. Please donate edencareuk.com or call 07957 199 328.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম। ও আমার বোনজি, তাইনার আব্বা আম্মা নাই, আমারও তো ঠিক নাই বিয়া দিবার। আর তাই তোরা দিবা নে, আমরা দোয়া করমুনি, তোরা সাহায্য করছো।
National Muslim Burial Register was established to support Muslims arrange their final rites. This service caters for Muslims who have no one to carry out their Islamic burial rites upon their death, including funeral planning and burial after their demise. Get in touch for a friendly chat and discuss our eligibility criteria. muslimburialfund.co.uk or call 07957 199 328. National Muslim Burial Register is a service offered
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the fourth and final, the ultimate episode of the Eden Care Show. You're watching the Eden Care Show on My Ramadan TV. Ramadan has literally slipped through our fingers. We are reaching the last week of Ramadan. Take heed, take benefit, and help others. That is the core of our work at 13 Rivers Trust. Now, today's topic is Eden Care, EC, as many people call it. EC is vital. Why is the Eden Care program within London and surrounding areas so important as part of a community intervention project? My name is Osama Kiani. I'll be your host today. I am the program manager of Eden Care UK, and I'm joined by my two guests, Seris Iftikhar and Anna Bogdanova. Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Yeah. Good, thanks.
Today is very exciting. We've done this is the fourth episode that we've done. I've had the honor of being on every single episode, but you two have led your own episodes. Do you want to give a short introduction of who you are and your involvement with Eden Care UK? Go ahead,
My name's Seris Iftikhar, and I'm a program officer at Eden Care UK. The work we do is, well, what we're doing at the moment is quite a few projects at the moment, which is quite exciting. It's kind of one of the reasons why I'm excited to do the show, to kind of let you guys know what we're actually doing, what work is taking place, how you can support us, be it with it, whether it's monetary, whether it's voluntary, whether it's using our services. But yeah, we just want to enlighten you on how much we are doing within the community and what our aims and goals are to continue supporting the community.
Thank you so much, Seris. And Anna?
So my name is Anna Bogdanova. I'm also a program officer at Eden Care. I am mainly responsible for volunteers, so I am more kind of knowledgeable on that side, on the recruitment of volunteers and making sure everyone is happy and everyone's doing well. But yeah, it's very exciting to be here, and it's exciting times for Eden Care with all our upcoming projects.
Amazing. Yeah, so as you said, we've got a lot of upcoming projects happening, but we've also had a lot of success with our current projects as well. This is the Eden Care team. You're looking at this is so exciting for me because we've done separate shows and we're doing separate work and we meet for our work stuff. But now we get the opportunity to go public as the Eden Care UK team, and I just want to give a shout out to you both. Without you guys, I don't think Eden Care will be as strong as it is. or as in the place where it is now without the hard work of you two. So that's my little shout out to you both. Thank you very much for your hard work going so far. So, Eden Care UK. What is the crux of Eden Care? When somebody asks you, let's say an alien comes to the planet Earth and says, "Oh, Eden Care UK," what is Eden Care UK to you? When you want to describe Eden Care, how would you describe it? And we'll start with Anna.
So the way I would describe Eden Care is a befriending service, a local service, really an intervention group that supports vulnerable individuals, especially those kind of reaching end of life, those who are terminally ill, but also really anyone who is in a difficult position. I think one of Eden Care pillars is empathy. So we strongly rely on our sense of empathy and support to help people around us. Definitely a very local community, a strong one, but we're always happy to branch out outside of our kind of community and area to help anyone who's in need anywhere else in the UK, really. So I think that's what always comes to mind when I think about Care First.
Amazing. And Serish, what do you think? You've had a volunteer experience, haven't you, before joining a staff?
Yeah.
What do you think about Eden Care?
I think with Eden Care initially, I think when I joined as a volunteer, it was the befriending service. It was the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't realize how many people were actually alone or needed somebody. I know that sounds quite naive, but we tend to look at people in distress in other countries, not in the UK. I mean, you know, we have homelessness, we have, you know, other issues, but loneliness was something I thought, yeah, obviously it happens, but I just didn't realize how common it was. And how isolated people could become. I don't think, because we are quite, Londoners not so much, but in the UK, we are quite outgoing people, we're social creatures, and we have a lot of facilities usually to go to. And seeing how the pandemic took that away from us, whether it be shopping centres, community centres, the cinema, it took away a lot of people socialising, whether it's people maybe not have had family at home or had family members further away, friends passing away and having a lot of issues. So I think the befriending side of things really, it kind of hit home for me when I started supporting them. And when I started supporting somebody, I think when I came into my role as a officer, I feel like I was able to then encourage more people to do that service, to actually enable them to follow in and support individuals within the community.
Summer got a bit not sure what happened there.
You know when you start coughing, it just doesn't stop. Right. So now you spoke about socialization and the lack of socialization. So why is Eden Care filling that gap? What does Eden Care do to fill that gap?
Well, that was my point. So when I first started volunteering, I did it on that basis of I didn't realize how many people had been impacted and I wanted to support those people. And with Eden Care, what they were doing is, although it was remote, they were able to provide like that gap, like provide a fulfillment in that gap by providing somebody to have someone to speak to, just someone to check up on them, see how they're doing, how they're coping. And in our work now, I think coming from a volunteer background for the actual organization, it's very easy for me to say, actually, this is what we could do. This is potentially how we could work and what else we could do and bring more, you know, the success stories. We've had quite a few now. Even my own service user who I still befriend at the moment. I've seen the work we do go from strength, from being a volunteer to actually being part of the team and seeing how much of a difference we can make at Eden Care with offering our befriending services. You know, anyone can call up anybody, but where our niche is we provide that service for the volunteers and the service users. We're not here just for people that use our service, we're also here for people that are going to be supporting us in supporting those individuals.
Yeah.
You made a really important point that you're befriending that yourself, and that's so important. And you've met, I'm sure, one or two of the service users as well. That's how local it is. You know, I know that we have a winter feeding program, and literally, these are people that are hungry. There's people that were surviving on oats. I don't know if you remember that, and biscuits. We literally left 30 seconds to 1 minute from the office and made our first drop off to feed somebody. Like, this is how local our work is. You've hit the nail on the head when you just said that there's a lot of international aid going out there. There's a lot of international work, which is as important and still important. And we're still, as 13 Rivers, we address that through our work in Select. But as Eden Care, we're saying, even on our doorstep, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'll talk a little bit more about the volunteer experience. What is it about volunteering for Eden Care that's unique?
So just another thing I wanted to say about befriending in general. So there are a lot of organizations that provide kind of mental health support. They have psychologists and they have, psychiatrists that support people. But I think one of the benefits of Eden Care is that it has just people, it has the same people, also volunteers with their own problems, their own lives, and their job is not to professionally kind of fix people. It's that their job is to support them and empower them, human to human, rather than a certain professional to a patient or a client. So it's a very kind of horizontal relationship, which I think is a big strength and benefit of Eden Care, because sometimes social prescribers, they visit lonely people, but that relationship feels more forced and more kind of, within the system, because they are required to do that. Whereas I feel like with befrienders, since it is their own initiative, it feels so much more empowering and friendly and definitely more supportive in many ways, because sometimes you don't need someone to tell you what problems you have or how to fix them. Sometimes you just need someone, to check up on you and be like, are you okay? Like, how has your week been? Have you been, watching or reading anything interesting recently? Sometimes you're just looking for that lighter chat rather than some specialist to talk to you and kind of mull over your problems. Sorry, that was just a thought that I've had as you guys were speaking about Eden Care. But in terms of volunteers, I mean, volunteers are really our main asset in Eden Care, isn't it? We have so many amazing, dedicated people on board who are willing to dedicate their time and energy and support to our service users. And I do think that a lot of befrienders themselves, I'm sure Sarah, will agree with me, that they find that kind of position fulfilling themselves. It's that kind of work that is not just giving, but you also receive a lot from it. You receive so much wisdom from people. You receive so many positive emotions, and just generally the feeling of supporting someone in need is just so incredibly fulfilling. And that's why I think a lot of our befrienders, stick with us, with Eden Care, with our service users for, as long as possible, because that's, that kind of feeling, you can't really get it anywhere else in any other job, I think. And obviously without kind of being the professional in the field.
Of course not. I want to touch on what you said about having professional help. So, it's kind of like, it sometimes feels like an obligation. So when someone, you go to counseling or you go to something of service, I mean, obviously it's very beneficial. But also at the same time, I think often people find it a bit like there's someone's trying to fix them. Sometimes they need someone to be relatable or just to listen.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the other thing, just having someone to listen. I think one of the things we have in our training program is listening skills. People assume you listen to respond. You don't always need to listen to respond. Sometimes you need someone to just listen to you. And a lot of our service users, I mean, obviously I work primarily with the service users, and you would find with a lot of them, they just, you give them a chance to speak and they can nutter on for ages because they've not had a solid conversation with somebody for days, weeks, or they've not had a conversation with someone other than their carers, doctors, hospital appointments, or a mental health professional, however you want to look at it. They've not had someone just call them and say, how are you doing? How's things? How are you feeling? And I think it makes a difference because they realize the volunteers are doing it not because they're getting a paycheck, not because it's their job or an oath. They're doing it because they want to. That you build this bond. I mean, my service user myself, I have a very strong bond with him. If I don't call and I've been unwell, he worries about me. And that's kind of like the bond, but and it's how you make it. And I think the fact that they know that it's volunteers doing that for them, and that are checking up on them, I think it means a lot to them. I think it's a different experience than having a healthcare professional or a mental health professional checking up. It is a completely different demographic area, I think.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I think it also really helps. Obviously, that's not to say that our befrienders, are just some kind of random people from the street. We obviously train them and they're all fully vetted. So we provide them with a lot of guidance on how to successfully talk to people, and mainly, we teach them the listening skills, how to interact with someone, how to discuss difficult topics, because a lot of our service users are at the end of life, so naturally they might want to discuss that, that experience with their befrienders, and we try to provide as much guidance as we can on that, on how to handle those kind of conversations. And obviously, we're, as a team, as an Eden Care team, we're always here to support our befrienders, should they have any concerns or issues with anything, if they're like in a difficult conversation or they had a difficult situation with their service user.
Yeah, and I think there's been a lot of success in our project, and a lot of, like, especially, we had Yaron in the other week as well, who said that Eden Care came in and went above and beyond for the family. We have people, service telling service that without that phone call, that one phone call made such a difference, whether it's in-person befriending or distance. Now, obviously, befriending, you can call it what you like, but there's a lot of socialization. There's a gap in socialization. So do you want to speak a bit more, Sarah, about what our work is to make sure that we're connecting communities and two different types of generations?
So I think with community work, I often think community work is done by so many different types of professionals, but getting the community involved in community work is a different prospect altogether. So at the moment, what we're doing is we're starting with intergenerational program, which is potentially introducing children and elderly people primarily, and kind of building a bond. I mean, there's TV shows about it and you read about it, but it was something that's not common in our community. And it was something, once I'd spoken to schools and care homes, for example, they both wanted that to happen. They didn't know how. So we are kind of like the facilitators for that now. And that is a project we're going to be going ahead with. We're also going to be working with young adults. So, these young adults learning, who want to go into healthcare professions, sometimes they need voluntary hours. Sometimes they want to learn and have some experience before they go on to a course, before they join any programs, to get an idea of what they're doing, community work, healthcare. You in this voluntary position, you do find you learn a lot. You learn a lot about people's mental health. You learn a lot about their health issues. You can learn a lot from it and take a lot away from it. And that's what we want the younger generation to know. People that wouldn't usually meet on a day-to-day basis. It makes a difference, I think. And that's where we're going to be facilitating that gap. And hopefully our first pilot run will be tomorrow. So that is exciting for us as a team. A lot of work's gone into it. And it will be the first of many. And we hope that it will be a game changer for their elderly people with their mental health and well-being. As we know, care homes have been neglected throughout this pandemic. And for the children, young children, to know and understand these issues that are arising, but in a child-friendly manner, I would say. To start off young, to explain how we can help people, cheer people up, that's essentially what they'll be doing. And I hope they learn from it. And that is what we're trying to do in a nutshell.
Yeah, I agree. So it's all about obviously serving the elderly, serving the vulnerable, but also gaining active citizens from the young people. They're going to remember stuff like this. I remember stuff like that from my school. Unfortunately not as much as the studies as I should have, but definitely those sort of events where people were active and they will remember that they cheered somebody up or they were supporting somebody. And hopefully that's what Eden Care is trying to promote as well. Okay, we're going to go for a very short break and then we'll be back to discuss why is Eden Care vital. We'll go on a break now. Thank you.
Eden Care UK is a friendly intervention service providing support to people who are terminally ill reaching end of life. We advocate for a high quality of care and enhanced life choices, and challenge the isolation of elderly people through friendship and social activities. This service would not be possible without your support. Please donate at edencareuk.com or call 07957 199 328. 480,000 cremations take place every year in the UK. Some of these cremations sadly include Muslims. We offer burial support for Muslim reverts who are vulnerable and alone, including an Islamic will service. If you or someone you know is worried about not receiving a Muslim burial, then contact us today. muslimburialfund.co.uk or call 07957 199 328. A project of Muslim Burial Fund.
Thirteen Rivers Trust presents Ask the Imam, live on Facebook, brought to you by Muslim Burial Fund in association with Eden Care UK and Salet Aid. Guests include Sheikh Solomon Ghani, Hafiz Abul Hussein Khan, Imam Abdullah Hassan, and Imam Zubair Kareem. Join us this Ramadan and learn your deen.
Hello and welcome back to the Eden Care Show, episode 4, the final show. I'm getting emotional. I don't know about you guys. Today we're talking about EC, Eden Care is vital. I'm joined by my guests, Serish and Anna. Welcome back, guys. Now, we just saw an ad there for Muslim Burial Fund, and I just want to touch upon that for a quick second. What work is Eden Care doing with grief, and why is grief such an important part for Eden Care? Anyone?
I think with grief, I think it is because we do end of life care. We support those at the end of their life. I think it's also a process because not only is the befriender who's going to be supporting that individual going to have to then go through that process, we also have family members. And, often when you're befriending somebody that's under those circumstances, you do kind of have access to sometimes knowledge of the family or even access to the family, depending on how long that relationship goes on for. And I think as a team as well, we grow an attachment to, in a way, knowing, we know that this is going to happen. So knowing that when that person leaves, their loved ones aren't, for example, left behind without any support is very important to us, I believe. I think it's something we've often discussed. How can we support those who are losing a loved one, as well as supporting that one who, the person is passing away? But even we are actually now having bereavement support for even our volunteers, because they are building these bonds and relationships with these people. They're giving their time, they're doing it off their own back. But we can't just say, okay, now they've passed away, okay, bye. Does that make sense? There's a process, and that cathartic process that they go through, I believe, is so important that we are with them and that in that time was need as well. So it's not just supporting the person that's at the end of life, it's also supporting their loved ones and those that have helped us support that person in that time. So I think bereavement support, people, it's easy to say, checking in on someone, but bereavement support is often counselling. It's often, it can be, it's a whole process, and it can also often be costly, but it's something I believe they deserve. They went out of their way to build this bond with someone and support someone in their time of need. And often they will need somebody to fall back on. And we just, as an organization, our plan is, and I'm sure you two agree, is not to leave them at the end of that process, to continue to support those and any family members that need the support once they've passed away. It's like a duty of care for us. And, these are all things that we intend to do and have been doing so thus far and want to continue to do, because bereavement support is important. It's a big part of the work we do. And we've had referrals from Muslim Burial Fund after their loved ones been buried, and their loved ones have been referred to us because they're left, the pandemic, we lost so many lives. People die daily, but in the pandemic it's very rapid, very spontaneously. And I think the support, we've had quite a few referrals from Muslim Burial Fund where people have passed away and they've said this family member's struggling, could you give them a call and check on them? So it works both ways. And it is a whole process. We are at Eden Care, I've come to say, I say it to a lot of people, we actually are there from the beginning of the process and can be there till the end of the process for a lot of individuals.
Yeah,
it's about that rounded care service. So during whilst they're living, being their friend, being that support network, and then also as they're passing, MBF will come and hopefully intervene, whether they're going to bury them or refer them to other burial support, and then it comes back to us if they have their families as well. This is something we're constantly trying to develop. The work with grief, we've started at a place of grief for our founders' grief, and now we want to continue working with grief, but grief in a good way. We've got a project called In Loving Memory, which we're trying to launch as well, and we really want people to jump on board on that as well, where people can actually fundraise in the name of somebody that they've lost, and they can also run a very small public health or social action project, and that really allows people to use their grief in a really active way, if that makes sense. And that's what we always encourage. I'm sure we all come from places of grief, whether it's losing someone or losing something. So, Anna, we constantly talk about, charities are constantly talking about fundraising. And one way that we're fundraising is getting people to jump on pages and, reach out to their family and their friends, do some sponsorship tasks. Could you explain a bit more about that and why it's so important for them to be under Eden Care?
Of course, yeah. I mean, Eden Care is in itself a small charity. It is a flagship program, but it is still, not the biggest organization. We're not Cancer Research UK, so I think as an organization, we rely a lot on the support from our community. And I think it's also something that we need to promote, not only to continue our work, but also in general to increase that awareness of the community support. So that's why we try to encourage everyone to get involved with their local charities, including ourselves, so we can continue providing that support for our community. And that, as you've mentioned, that can be done in a variety of ways. So someone can set up a fundraising page and just kind of spread it around, their family, their friends, their colleagues. That's one way you can fundraise for us. If that's something to interest any of the viewers, please get in touch with any of the team members. We can help you with that. As Usama said, again, another way is to set up a community project, which may be another way. If you feel strongly about a specific cause, we can support you in organizing a small project for that. And in that way, we could potentially raise funds. If you mention Eden Care anywhere, just generally raising awareness of loneliness, of grief, of the struggle and the end of life, I think that's already, a lot of people do that, and that's already amazing that people actually spread awareness and mention us and kind of get others informed on the work that we do. So yeah, I mean, fundraising is a key part of our work, and we do it just to continue our work, and also everyone just should be supporting their community, and that's one way to support it. Basically, some people are more willing to volunteer and not fundraise. Some people are willing to do both. Some people are willing to only fundraise. But I think it's the key, to any happy community, to any happy group of people, is just the all-round support, and that includes fundraising essentially.
Yeah, it's so important, fundraising and awareness raising, having that balance between letting your local community know, your family, your friends, your mosques, your churches, everyone about the important work that we're doing. But the funds are important as well, because we are a very small charity, but I always say it's incredibly ambitious, incredibly sincere. We're trying our best to reach as many people as we can. We've got intergeneration work, we've got befriending, we've got end of life. Unfortunately, it does not come cheap, and that's just a fact. We're not here to say, don't worry about the cost, we can cover everything. We're being realistic. With that help, that money that you aim to fundraise, you'll be supporting us. And you can do it in a very fun way. You know, we've got people that, you know, shave their entire head off, or go for a hike, or whatever you can. Get a group involved and have a certain target. We're here to support you. info@edencareuk.com. So she was going to say something.
No, I was just going to touch on what you guys were saying about fundraising. I think it's a lot about how I promote the work generally is we're doing work on our doorstep. This is happening within our own community. Your next door neighbor, someone down the street, your own relatives could be struggling and you don't know. And it's not just about our befriending services that at the moment they're remote, but we are hoping to go back into face-to-face befriending, and to be able to kind of support the people getting back into society. You know, we've just had discussions about how we're going to do that, risk assessments, etc. PPE, you know, there's so much that goes in. You could just say, oh, your phone call is simple, but there is so much more that's going to go into it eventually when people go back out. And we will be our volunteers will be the individuals that are going to support these vulnerable individuals going back into society. You need to remember, some of us have still been going to work. Some of us have been able to still go get our shopping. These people have not been able to even do that, some of them, due to health issues or being in a certain setting. They've been shielding for so long that, you know, the support they're going to need to get back into some sort of normalcy will be more than us. And I think I'm struggling now the lockdown's easing, so I would hate to think how somebody else feels that's been shielding. And even our projects, it's important to think, because we are thinking of introducing other projects, which means supporting the community again. And like Osama said, it's not the most costly thing, but it does cost. The thing is, it can be done in monetary value, but it can also be supporting skill sets. It could also be volunteering your time. And as Anna said, projects, you know, we are looking of ways to keep supporting our community in new ways. You know, we've got the foundation to do so. So anyone that is interested in any way to support, you know, it could be the smallest amount, it could be the smallest amount of time, financially, whatever it is, we're willing to take, because we are genuine. Our intention is there and we want to make a difference.
Definitely.
We really want to make a difference.
I agree with you. You'll find in one car, you'll have, you know, obviously masked up distance, we're all doing our work. You'll have a volunteer and you'll have the founder of the charity doing the same work, delivering the same food together. We're all about togetherness within the charity. And one thing I want to say is as well is the community aspect is so important. And one thing is the pandemic, it's not over. That's one thing. You know, a lot of our funds, a lot of our work is a COVID-19 emergency relief. You guys will be helping us to relieve a lot of stress and loneliness from people. But even if the restrictions do relax June, July, you know, we'll be going into care homes, schools, etc. The aftermath of a pandemic is arguably worse in terms of mental health. Like you said, socialization, getting back into society. So that we, as Eden Care UK, really want to make sure that people gain those social skills to be able to go back into that. You know, that's why we're going into schools, to make sure that people understand you can still become an active citizen. We're going to care homes to say, look, we're still here for you. Like you said, Sarah, it's like there's people who literally haven't interacted with any of the outside world in care homes and hospices. So that's what we're trying to do as well. This is just a final push, everyone. Please do get involved with Eden Care UK, whether you are fundraising, whether you are volunteering, whether you're helping with any grants or funds, however you can help Eden Care UK. We really want you to get involved. This is the final show, and I'm going to leave you guys to say one more last message from each one of you, and then we're going to close the show there. Anna, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. I just would like to say that supporting your community is extremely important, even for the selfish reason of, you know, you might be the one in that position one day, and you would like your community to support you. So I think, you know, it is important to remember that it's incredibly important to support your community, because you might need that support one day, and we hope that that community is going to be willing to give that back to you.
Thank you, Anna. And Serish?
I'd just like to say, please do get involved any way you can. The personal fulfillment, I can speak on for personal experience, is immense. The satisfaction, so yeah, for selfish reasons, but also to make a difference. You know, it doesn't have to be life-changing, but if we all want to make a difference, we all have to do our part. And, you know, we are trying, and we are happy to help and support in any way, but please get involved in any way you can. You will be making a difference.
I repeat what you both say, definitely. And you are changing people's lives, even if it's something small. You know, you're getting involved in their life, you're listening, and people are actively becoming better with your help. Do get involved. Eden Care UK, flagship program of 13 Rivers Trust. Thank you so much for watching. info@edencareuk.com. Do get in touch. From our team, Sama, Serge, Anna, we'd like to say goodbye. Thank you.